up, babe?
What are you doing?
Drawing up this stone platform that we're gonna build this weekend. We're about to get it loaded, so I gotta kind of make the final lumber list and all that. Spacing. I wanted to go with 5 supports, but upon further inspection, I've got to go with 4 so I could space the stones in there properly. I'll get a little preview of what it's gonna look like.
Yeah. You're gonna release this to the public later?
Maybe some work plans.
specs?
Some work plans, yeah, we could probably do that.
Cool.
We could probably do that with a build list, with a cut list.
Hey, this is pro customer parking.
That's right. When you're a pro, it's something. I don't know if it's a pro. We're looking at finishes for it because you're going to want, this one's going to be an outdoor stone platform. Maybe one day it'll find a home inside, but for now, it's got to live outside. So we're doing pressure treated lumber and looking at like a deck stain for it, something that'll hold up to the sun and mostly water. We won't let this thing get like falling apart in a year or two. So looking at a solid color deck stain, because I think it'll give the best defense. Basically what you'd stain your deck with. You know those hold up for years, so we're going to go with something like that. What's up, everybody? Today, we're going to make a stone loading platform. We start by cutting our 4x4 posts. That's basically the legs are going to stand up. We're going to 8 posts. This is going to be a 48-inch platform, so we're going to start by cutting our 4 posts to 46.5 inches. That's going to leave room for another 1.5 inches of plywood on top of this thing. Total height, 48 inches. So let's start by cutting. I'm going to cut. So, always cut the swag end, factory end off your boards. Never trust your factory end to be very square. So get her squared up. Just a trim. Alright, that's what we're taking off. Now we start cutting. So we've got our 8 posts, 4x4 posts, cut to 46.5 friggin' inches. I'm a magician. Alright, onward. We're going to cut the 2x6s and 2x4s that are framed and kind of wrap this thing around the top and the bottom. Let's do it. Alright, this is a nice long, this is a 96-inch long cut. We're going to do 6 of these and then 2 and 2x4s. Okay. Money. Alright, so we got the 4x4 posts cut for our tall, set our height, and then we've got our front and rear 2x6s and 2x4s that we're going to wrap this thing with. So we're going to start assembly with this. We're going to fasten our posts to our 2x6 face fronts and get this thing really standing up. Probably going to use the floor because it's the biggest, most level surface we got. Well, working on the floor is never fun, but that's what we got to do today. So we're going to move some stuff around, make some room, and get this thing going. We're done. We'll load a stone right on this platform.
Okay, perfect.
Alright, so we're down working on the floor because basically that's going to set our top level of our post with that 2x6 in the front. I'm going to pile this up here with a piece of 2x6 up. It's going to butt up against it. So I'm spacing this with a scrap piece of joint off the edge instead of measuring because it's more accurate. And then I've got a square here. I want to make sure our post is square to our board here. And we'll clamp it together. Then I'm going to go countersink, drill a bit in, and put a deck screw in and fasten these one by one. Probably one for now so we can get it level and then get everything straight, and we'll tighten everything up with 3 more screws probably on the back end. finished we're gonna call this the front facing side. So we got 3 deep boards. This is gonna be the top down here. So right now we're flipped upside down. I'm standing inside of it, if that makes any sense. So I'd be loading stones totally upside down right now, if that makes sense. So our front facing boards are all secured, just with 1 board each. We clamped, held everything a little square, threw a screw in on each one. Now we're gonna be able to go ahead and lay it down and get the rest of the screws in. We're gonna move over, start doing the back side, then merge those 2 back sides in together, start really forming this thing as a big box. Back side. It's gonna have a nice 2x4 border wrapped around the back of it. We're not gonna keep that for the front, we're gonna keep the front open. So we can roll stones in there basically, but this is gonna basically add another constraint to your boards this way so your posts don't start whopping in and out. And then just a little degree of stiffness. So we got these spaced 1 inch down because I don't want this thing sitting on the floor. So we're spaced 1 inch off of our posts. Same distance as we space these here. We're clamping, squaring up, making sure everything's nice, and then we're screwing them together. So let's get it. All right, we've got our front and our rear of the platform ready. We're gonna go ahead and cut the sides. One's gonna line up like this, boom, it's gonna be good. We're gonna have 1 2x4 here, and then 3 2x6s lined in the bottom. Make this thing a nice casing for it. Be real solid. It'll take away any movement side to side that this thing has by being restrained in both directions. So we're gonna cut, what do we got? 6 2x6s and 2 2x4s down to 21 inches, and we'll get it all together, and this thing will kind of really start looking like a platform here once we flip it over. Fuck yeah. We're back here, we've made some progress. We've got a pretty solid stone platform going here. I'm on the back side, so here's the front side. So we kept the front open-ended so we can store some stones under there. Next step, we're gonna make a couple more stringers just across here to add a little support this direction, and then a little extra support for the stones. So we'll be loading stones up here, having some more supports this way. It'll just kind of support the weight of it, so the plywood, is that less risk of breaking and stone falling through or something like that eventually. So the more support you can put inside of these, the better, because you're gonna have some heavy stones loaded on there. Wood is good, but I mean, it's gonna eventually wear out. So the more support you can put in here, the better. And that's what we're gonna do. Overkill is usually a good thing when it comes to strongman equipment, because it's gonna break and it's gonna get put to the test. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna build it up and make it even heavier, and then we're gonna have to figure out how the hell to get it out of the garage. Day 1 progress, we're gonna call it a day. We've got pretty much this thing all completely done. Stringers across the top. All we gotta come in and do is pretty much finish securing, add some more screws in the face frames, and then throw in our plywood top. Maybe trim it a little bit so the stones don't roll off it. And call this thing done. All right, what's up everybody? You're back here for day 2 of the stone platform build. So, goal today is get this top cut, fasten on top. So first thing we gotta do, we got a 4x8 sheet of plywood. Our platform is 8x2, so we're basically gonna effectively cut this thing dead nuts in half, fold it over ourselves, glue it, because we don't want those 2 layers separated. Then we'll have an 1.5 inch thick plywood layer to sit on top of this thing. It'll be super strong. So, I've got the board marked. I've got my circular saw set up in my handy Craig jig. And we're gonna hope we can cut this in a pretty decently straight line and go from there. We'll get this thing glued up, let it sit for a couple hours, and fasten to the top, then it'll be ready for some stone load. All right, we got our 2 halves cut here, we are gonna glue them together. So let's get that. We've just got some wood glue. It's the best thing. And something to spread it with. Usually when I'm working with wood, the best thing to do is spread with your finger. There's a lot of stuff and I don't really want that much glue on my fingers, so we're just gonna go to it. And as with most things in life, more glue is better. So, we're just going to get this thing real heavy. And the purpose of gluing this thing together is so these two boards don't separate. Because it will be screwed down, but still, you know, even in between the areas where it's not screwed, it'll have a tendency to split. So, you don't want to keep that, like, that hamburger looking look on your boards. So go ahead and just glue them together. It'll make it better. It'll make it stronger. In effect, we turn this into like 1.5 inch thick plywood, which would be really nice. Make sure you get the corners of this surface. Woo! The middle, the edges. The putty knife worked pretty well, but didn't work as good as the old finger, so had to go back to old trusty. So, get that glue off your hands. We got a nice fill on here. We're gonna go ahead and make a nice plywood sandwich. Easiest way to do that, you're gonna flip it on over. Put it on the table. Towards you. Yeah. Yeah. Big ass sheet of plywood. We're going to line up the edges. Then we're going to apply some clamps, and then we're going to put a lot of weight on this thing and make sure these things really press together and form a nice bond to each other. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then it's going to sit for a couple hours, let it cure, and then we'll go ahead and put it on top of the platform. All right, we're back here. We've got a pretty much finished product here. We got the 2x4 layer on top of our platform base. So two layers of 3/4 inch plywood. So we got 1.5 inches of plywood here to set our stones on. It is super solid. We are gonna finish this up by framing it a little bit. So basically we're gonna put this 2x2 along the back edge and along the two sides. Basically just some French stones rolling off of it. Debated maybe putting some dividers in here at certain, so this thing's basically to run like a 4-stone platform, but why limit yourself? I mean, really no reason to put dividers in it, so we're not gonna do that. We're gonna put these on after we get it to the gym, because I think we're gonna lay it on this top surface, so there's no reason to lay it on these support pieces, just because they're there to look pretty. They're not to hold load, and ultimately hold stones from rolling off, so we'll just screw those in once we get it to the gym. But for the most part, this thing's all ready to go. Now we gotta just kind of figure out how to get out of here, because I'm gonna guess this thing is very heavy. But it's solid, it's gonna do the trick, and I'm really excited to actually load some stones on it, because you put a lot of labor or love into something like that, and really the best thing to do is get you using it when you're done. So I'm excited to go do this, excited to load some stones, excited to train for America's Strongest Man. We got some big ass stones we gotta load, and we'll do that. We'll see you back there.
Big brain. Flop like a pimple. That's a good intro. Yeah.